Namaste. Welcome to this week's video in the Skillful Living program. We are talking now about the concept of Dharma, which I introduced in the last video last week. This is Dharma as it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Dharma being the purpose of our life, of each individual's life. So my Dharma will be different from your Dharma. It's also doing the right thing, but now more specifically doing the right thing for ourselves. What is my Dharma? It can never be something bad that I do, something wrong, but it's also action that brings me closer to whatever is that purpose of my life, of my being here on this earth. So last week I had quoted a little bit from the Gita, one verse. It is better to strive in one's own Dharma than to succeed in the Dharma of another. I think we spoke a little bit about this aspect, that we must find our own Dharma. And this verse goes on to say, nothing is ever lost in following one's own Dharma, but competition in another's Dharma breeds fear and insecurity. So if you're following your own Dharma, even if things may seem a little bit difficult at times, or you may be a bit confused about where you're headed, don't worry. So long as you're following your own Dharma, your efforts will not be lost. They will move you forward, they will move you forward towards your own destiny, if you like, in this life. So this is also important to remember, that nothing is lost. If you seem to meander a little bit, doesn't matter, come back to your purpose. So long as you know what that purpose is, or even if you're not very clear about it, but you're confident you're moving in the right direction, that's fine. Don't get sidetracked by what others are doing. And they may be doing wonderful things, but if that's not your Dharma, then it's not your Dharma. Follow your own Dharma. And when we do that, that becomes a sort of another version of right action, as in Karma Yoga, but now right action for me according to my Dharma. And the opposite of Dharma is adharma, doing something that is wrong, or something that is wrong for you. So that's just a little bit more carrying on from last week. And now I also want to talk about the other meaning of Dharma, which is responsibility or duty. So when we live in this world, if we are not living as hermits somewhere in a cave or up in the mountains, so long as we are engaging with this world, we will have certain responsibilities. So the Gita is very clear on this point, that you do need to meet your responsibilities. You cannot shirk your responsibilities. So for me, a very clear example of this is when we have children, for example. We have a certain responsibility to bring them up well, to provide them perhaps with education, provide them shelter, clothing, provide them with some values in life, to guide them along, to protect them, to guide them, whatever it might be, all of these things. So these become our responsibilities when we bring a child into this world, or when we adopt a child. You cannot then change your mind and say, oh no, this is too tough. So you must, in this world, in this life, discharge your worldly responsibilities. And I have been asked a couple of times if it's okay to just give up everything because I want to find myself. And it sounds like a very high purpose sometimes. I want to find myself, I want to grow spiritually. Yes, you should grow, of course. We all keep growing throughout life. But it's not an excuse to shirk your responsibilities. I prefer the word responsibility to duty, because duty has come to acquire a certain kind of obligation, must. I don't really want to do it. So when we think of something as a duty, sometimes we become a bit resentful, like, oh, well, I have to do it because it's my duty, but I don't really want to. So somehow for me, responsibility is a better word. I'm not saying it's so for everybody. I just feel, yes, I have certain responsibilities. And they're not only to children, they could be to your partner, they could be to your colleagues, to your friends, to parents. And what exactly that responsibility is something you need to figure out for yourself. Each of us will have a different sense of where that sense of responsibility takes us. But just to say that spiritual development is not an excuse to shirk your responsibilities, and that too is part of Dharma. So this is what I wanted to add to last week's video. Thank you for watching again, and see you again next week. Namaste.